In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to A Place at the Table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
A place at the table where we're set to shake much more than the table.
Welcome to A Place at the Table where we set the agenda, table the issues that matter to you because you matter. I'm Funke Treasure and I'm standing in for Kate Shirt today. But then I welcome myself also to the table. Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Funke. It's been a while.
Yes, indeed, Ureti. Good to be here. Right, I'll be speaking on how we treat ourselves because it's time to take a look at the man in the mirror.
Hello, I'm Bright Jaja, and I will certainly be tabling an issue that matters to all of us. I'm speaking on mind matters.
If it matters to you, Bright, then it's a topic of interest to all of us. My name is Ureti, and today I stand with Chioma Okoli.
I hear you, Ureti. We're here to ensure that the voiceless get their say. I'm Aisha Yusufu, and I'll be speaking on the value of rice. Or did I mean to say the value of life?
We sometimes confuse these issues, Aisha, don't we?
We do.
I'm Inka Ogunubi, and I'll be speaking on the vital issue of our dollar addiction. Like Funke said, it's time to take a look in the mirror.
That's right. The clock is ticking. Let's set the agenda for today's discussions. So Michael Jackson sang, and I'd love to sing it as well. I hope you guys will join me. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change
With my own Koro voice.
No message could have been any clearer.
If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change.
Thank
Right,
you guys.
you're crazy as
I will not be holding back my fingers when I point them at us as a people and our selfish, self-centered, greedy nature. Why do we do this to one another? Now, there's a parable that says, don't throw stones in the marketplace or it just might hit your family member. Going by the behavior of us as a people and how we stampede ourselves literally to death for the simplest things, when simply queuing and taking turns would have sufficed. Customs is selling rice at a reduced price. It all starts off well. The most vulnerable are being attended to first. Then either someone decides to jump the line or the crowd is overwhelmed by fear, panic, and distrust that the rice may finish by the time it's their turn. Whatever the reason or reasons were, the previously organized and orderly process was turned into chaos, which led to death and injury. Now, this reminds me of the immigration job search stampede that occurred in Abuja a few years back, and more recently, the video of the Commissioner of Agriculture in Lagos State drives home this particular point. A 25% discount is applied so the consumers can buy products at a reduced rate. The sellers are not charged a dime, and rather they have been given a platform to sell without any loss to their pockets. But what do? They turn around and still sell at a higher price. We want change, but we're not willing to be the change. And then we blame our leaders. As confirmed by social experiment in Lagos and many other examples, cash for votes, deliberate defaults on bank loans, connivance with civil servants to evade rules, driving on the wrong side of the road, and so on and so forth. The people are fundamentally selfish, lawless, and ignorant. Then we vote in a set that mirror us. So we do not have sufficient standing to challenge them when they do wrong. Whereas laws and law enforcement might bail the scats, those in the law enforcement system also come from us, which basically ties us in a Gordian knot. If they're the birds, we are the feather, which is why they say birds of the same feathers flock together. I know, and I believe we can do better as a people. Let's do better.
I still haven't gotten over your Michael.
Trying to play Michael Jackson.
You gotta do that to
I'm
me.
trying to play. I don't know how to do backlight.
No, we can do better. I mean, obviously we can do better. As a society, we can do better. And there is no society that doesn't need to do better, but we have several, there are factors to our doing better in Nigeria. And like you rightly said, the fear factor, the trust factor. And when you combine those two together, it becomes irrational, you know, and hunger can make you irrational. And that's not to make an excuse for it, because I actually saw that video and it was all going well, customs were helping. And I remember the one thing that stood out for me, it was a short video, was they were helping, it was women, because they would help them put them on. And I remember thinking, trust women, they were the first ones in the queue. Literally did I know that it was all going to fall apart later. Right. So it seemed okay, it seemed organized, people would go in, people would carry their stuff and whatever. But what goes wrong is selfishness, disobedience, recalcitrance, and on and on and on. So the question then becomes, who shapes society? Which comes first, the people or the society?
The leader or the follower?
The leaders come from us.
Yeah, that's
right?
the thing.
Right?
I think for me, one of our biggest challenge in our society is our expectations does not match our foundation. And it starts from that, right? I was reading about, I mean, when you watch the World Cup, you hear of the story where the Japanese, they clean up the place after. I was reading about to understand why, because this is not something like, it's not a PR stunt for Japan. So I was reading about it and I saw that from school,
It's
from
a culture.
primary school,
It's a culture. You took that as
first of all, the students, they don't have cleaners in their school. The students clean their classrooms by themselves. So like, we need to understand that we can't be expecting Nigerians to act in a certain way, something that really isn't part of our structure, our upbringing. Everything that you see us do today is based off of how we were brought up, our environment.
what
right?
we were socialized
Exactly. And so if we want to change, there's a chance to change that for the next generation. We need to start putting all of these structures in place, from our primary schools to our secondary schools to our universities.
I think I have a different take on that, Bright.
Yeah.
I think we did come from a culture where we learned respect from home, where we learned order. You know, I always tell my kids that thank God I was alive in this country in the 70s to see structure and to see order. I mean, I went.
And wole.
Yes.
The sanitation officers. Yes.
I went to a primary school somewhere on Broad Street, you know, in the 70s. And I remember then that I would walk from that school down to Tinubu Square. My dad's office was just on around Tinubu Square. I walked by myself. I couldn't be more than 5'6". I walked by myself to his office, climb take the lift, go to his office. I'll stay there until like 4. My auntie will come pick me up from his office. We'll go down. And then just around the corner is a bus stop. We'll take a bus. I knew the number of the bus. It was around 10 or 11. We knew the time it would come. Everybody queued up. All right? Your bus will come. It was going to, because we're staying in Festac, so it was going to Maitu. We take that bus, and that bus would drop us right in front of my clothes and that. And Nigeria had order. The unfortunate thing is that today, the person born in 2000 and the year 2000 is just 24. He's 24. He's an adult. And the only thing he has seen is order.
The one born in the 90s is the same. What are you going to 2000 for? The ones born in the 90s.
I've been nice here.
I'm even saying no. It's not just the ones born in 2000. The ones born in the 90s were born to a deteriorating Nigeria.
So the point I'm making is that...
And I was born in the 90s, so that's all I saw.
Yeah, exactly.
Nigeria, I mean, some of us have seen this country have respect, have order, have things work. But the current generation, who make up 60% of the population, have seen dysfunction. And so when you say that's how society has been socialized, that's what they see. But I know that, look, it hasn't always been like this. I was on a flight recently, and there was a guy, you know how in the flight, everybody, you have your class, where your ticket can buy, all right? My ticket, was economy. So I was sitting in economy and all that. And this guy from the economy suddenly stood up. I wanted to go to the toilet in the business class in Nigeria. And then
Who does that?
And then the crew said, no, sorry, go to your class. And then the guy said, no be the same. Like Nigerians.
Let me just come in to say, first of all, when we talk about this respect, is it really respect or fear? And then when we talk about order, is it enforced order? Somebody coming out to tell you, go and clean your house, is different from you knowing that you're supposed to clean your house and you should do it. So even in those 70s and all of that, what we had was like enforced order, not really people learning why they should do it.
I don't know.
So let me give you an example. Even like with kids, like with my kids, I never did that or tell your kids what to do, how to do. No, we have a conversation. This is what it is. If you don't do it this way, these are the repercussions of what will come out of it. So you make your choice and then you face the consequences of that choice. So in a way, we need to look at that respect and other things. But I think also we have a scarcity mentality in Nigeria where people just think that, things are going to get finished.
It's not going to reach me.
Yes, it's not going to reach me. You literally will be driving, you see someone driving on the road slowly. And then there's a car that just wants to enter or somebody that wants to cross the road and they will speed up. That's it, normal, typical Nigerian mentality, thinking as if they're going to take it. So we have all of these things, are going on. And then, of course, also is the fact that there's lack of empathy. Because if there's empathy, when somebody falls, you shouldn't be thinking about a bag of rice, no matter how hungry you are. The reason why I'm literally saying this is because I have been hungry. I have slept without food. In the 80s, during the structural adjustment period, anytime I did, I just recall my childhood where our parents literally couldn't put food on the table and would sleep without food. But yeah, there was that decency of doing the right thing. Even you won't even go outside and collect food from someone. So because there's lack of empathy, that's why someone will fall and then they will trample on that person instead of just waiting. And finally, for me to add the fact that bad behavior, they're always rewarded in Nigeria. So you come in, you cut the queue, you enter in there, you get away with it. You are even praised and hailed as someone who is smart. And so people, that's the word, you are sharp, and people keep doing that.
It's the thing about getting away with bad behavior. And you know that globally now, the dynamics are changing. Followers are creating change now. So, but how are we going to create the change as followers when we are even guiltier than the leaders?
Good point.
We're all about change. So up next, Bright is set to start a revolution, a mental health revolution.
Sometimes the things closest to our hearts are sometimes farthest from our lips. Good evening, Nigeria. Today, we're here to talk about something very close to our hearts, but far from our conversations, our mental health. You see, in our beautiful land, from Lagos to Kano, from Abuja to Port Harcourt, we've grown up believing that some of our battles are fought in silence. But tonight, we're breaking that silence. In Nigeria, we're proud, we're strong, and we've been taught to keep our struggles to ourselves. Be a man, they say. Don't let them see you cry, we're told. But what happens when the weight becomes too much to bear alone? Look around you. Our youths are in pain. Many are turning to drugs, not for fun, but as a way out of that pain, out of the noise in their heads. They're trying to escape a reality that's sometimes too hard to face. No jobs, high pressure, and everywhere on social media, life seems perfect for everyone, making our own problem feel even heavier. But here's the thing. It's okay not to be okay. Our struggles, our pain, they don't make us weak, they make us human. And it's time to start talking about it. Mental health isn't a white man problem. It's our problem too. It's real as malaria, and it's urgent as unemployment. And it's affecting our brothers, our sisters, and our children. In our culture, if someone says they're depressed or anxious, too often they are misunderstood. Is it not sadness? Pray it away, Joe, some say. But it's more than that. We need to listen, like really listen to ourselves. We need to listen to each other. We need to offer support to each other, not judgment. It's time to change that narrative around mental health in Nigeria. Now imagine in Nigeria where asking for help is seen as strength, not weakness. Where therapy is as normal as going to the market. Where our men, especially our men, don't have to bottle up their feelings, thinking it's the only way to be strong. We can make that Nigeria a reality. So let's start the conversation. Talk to your friends, your family. Let's make mental health a topic we can discuss openly, without fear or shame. Let's support each other, educate ourselves, and build a community where no one has to suffer in silence. It's time to end the stigma associated with mental health. So the next time you hear the word mental illness, don't think of the madman. Think of me.
Oh, wow.
Powerful word.
Yeah.
What a powerful one, thoughtful one as well. I like let's normalize therapy. I like the issue of mental health and silence. For me, it's about normalizing the therapy. Having people say, oh, I'm checking into therapy, and having therapists accessible, available. And then therapy is not going on social media and say, Treasure came today. Or a broadcaster was in my office today. So you see, when we're asking for normalizing therapy as well, the onus is on the rest of us who are therapists and those who have them as people around them also to also please note that there is confidentiality. Having said that, let me look at the mental health and the silence about it, because we demonize what we keep silence around and we stigmatize people. That's why we keep silent. I don't want people to know. And then you have allowed people to know, you're going to be stigmatized and shamed for it. There is no shame in saying, just as you've said, right? There is no shame in saying, look, I need help. Stop. And then dozing on social media. Thank you for saying that. You go on social media, you think their lives are perfect. Stop dozing too heavily on social media. We need to understand that the things we see on social media are pre-planned. That those people don't look like that every day. They're curated. Thank you. So please, be easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself. That's where it starts.
Okay.
All right, so one thing that struck out to me, what you said, and I wrote it down, is that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
And I think that we need to re-emphasize that a lot of the times, because when a Nigerian hears that you're going to see a therapist or a psychologist, the first thing they think is that you must be crazy. So why would you need to go see a shrink, if you're not fine?
Yeah.
But we must understand that these things are, they are normal, and that if you can take care of your eyes, your body organs, what about your brain? The biggest part of your body, that controls everything. And that's what mental health is about.
Yeah.
That is, we go through all manners of strain and stress. And sometimes there's nothing wrong in going to see an expert. And I'm saying this especially to the religious community, where the idea that you have a mental health issue is demonized, that you need to be laid out upon, and then somebody's, saying that, you are something wrong with you. And we see a lot of times that somebody that needs expert intervention, they take the person to church. and then they begin to flog the person, they begin to do all sorts of things just because they want to get these things out when that person needs help. The other thing I wrote down is that vulnerability should not be a weakness, but it can be a feature of strength. That I'm vulnerable doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. It just means that I'm in a position where I could use some help to be able to get. So you talk about stigma, and I think that's where the conversation must be. We must have this conversation holistically to make people understand that in the same way your liver, your kidney, your heart can have a problem, your brain also might also be stressed and it needs help.
I'm going to come at this from another angle. The angle where people don't understand that it's okay to say, you know what, I feel down. It doesn't mean you're suffering from depression. You see, if your dog gets run over, it's okay to feel down. If you lose your job, it's okay to feel down. Do you understand? And when that's part where the normalization comes from. As a society, say, you know what, girl, I feel like crap. We need to talk. Darling, I feel like, and if we encourage that conversation, as I say to my friends, and I always, and I'm going to look at the camera now, always find that friend that you can vent to.
Taking off from it's okay not to be okay, right? And it's also okay for parents to normalize letting their children know when it's not okay.
That's right.
Especially with this whole financial issue that we have, and a lot of families are going through problems. What they try to do is to protect their children.
And pretend everything is okay.
No, so everything is not okay. And the kids need to learn. This is where they learn from. So you tell them, oh, either you've been through this or this is what you're going to. So they normalize it and see that it's okay not to be okay. What's going on? You get it. You know, you get it going. Another thing also, like for me, I'll start from that with the, kids, because some of these things, when you say it, for us to normalize it, children have to see it being done. Is to, sometimes kids cry, and people are like, oh, they don't like kids crying. Let them cry. That's how they're feeling. That's their feeling. They're feeling frustrated. They can't speak to it.
If they didn't cry, would you leave the hospital with them?
Even as adults, sometimes you want to cry. You just sit down and you just start crying. And so it's normal for people to vent their feelings. Allow children, to do that and just be out there, speak about these things. And like you rightly said, there's nothing, it's not about some religion, it's not about some demon, because even in the Islamic world, that's the same thing they do. They are beating the jinn out of
Trying to exercise.
Yes, they're doing that a lot. So let's talk about these things. I like Bright said, the next time you're thinking about mental health,
think about me.
Breaking the silence can be the shortest distance between the problem and the solution.
I'm certainly not keeping silent. Today, as I said earlier, I'm standing with Chioma Okoli. So imagine you buy a product, you post a review about it. Next thing, you're arrested, not once, but twice. That's the story of Chioma Okoli. In September last year, Chioma, wife and mother of 3, stopped at a supermarket to do grocery shopping. One of the items on her list was tomato paste. Unable to find her usual brand, she bought a new one. Well, that conventional decision has since morphed into a living nightmare for Chioma, her husband, and children. You see, when Chioma got home that day, she tried the new paste that she had bought. It's too sugary, was the offending line in the review she would later post on her Facebook. Chioma didn't have many Facebook followers, so it's highly unlikely that you and I would have even heard about her review, if not for the traumatic events that followed. The brand Chioma bought is made by Erisco Foods. The chairman of Erisco Foods is Chief Eric Umofia. He has friends in high places. With that in mind, Eric weaponized his Rolodex of big names. He weaponized them to bully, harass, and intimidate this young pregnant mother. Even when the FCCPC got involved, yes, that's the agency that's supposed to protect our consumer rights, Eric is on air or on record boasting, I petitioned the Minister of Justice, I petitioned the NSA, I petitioned everybody. Yeah, like that. Someone once said the worst crime you can commit in Nigeria is to be poor. I say the second crime is to be poor with an opinion, while the third crime is to be poor, female, opinionated, and dare to post it on social media. So Eric petitions the police, apparently via the IGP. Eric alleged that Chioma is cyberbullying his company. Chioma was charged under the Cyber Crimes Act, the same act that is said to be in direct conflict with Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution, that section that gives us freedom of speech and opinion. So what will happen to Chioma? Don't know, time will tell. The case is still in court. However, in a recent documentary by a Rise broadcast journalist, Adesu Agiwa-Osage, Eric Umofia said, and I quote, I would rather die than watch my reputation tarnished. He went on to say, if you want to die, if you want to live, I will help you live. If you want to die, I will help you if you so wish. Yeah, I know. By now, you're also wondering, who is Eric Umofia? Don't know either. However, what I do know is, while Eric is entitled to pursue his grievances through the courts, I am compelled to ask him, who died and made you God, Eric? Who sold Nigeria to you as your chiefdom? It's like this. Chioma is a Nigerian consumer like you and me and everybody else. Eric Umofia could happen to any of us. I repeat, Eric Umofia could happen to any of us. So today, I invite you to stand with Chioma Okoli so we can remind Eric Umofia that in spite of his abuse of power, he's just an ordinary Nigerian and a pedestrian one at that.
Pedestrian one.
I know Nigerian is more Nigerian than
Any Nigerian.
But you know, the thing about the powerful is they always prey on the powerless. And the thing about the powerful also is that they deploy influence, sometimes unnecessarily. Every product should get a review, positive and negative. I'm used to buying this. I can't find this. I then decide on this. I taste it for the first time. I write that it's sugary. Why don't you take my review and make it less sugary? Or say,
ignore it.
Or even ignore it. Or even say, oh, we purposely made it sugary
because
so that those who want it this way can choose ours. What's the prosecution for? She wrote it on social media because that's the new street.
She can write it wherever she wants. It's her
Not
space.
everyone, I don't even know where their factory is or where their office is, I don't care. But nobody is going to buy a piece of whatever it is you sell and then get onto a bus and start traveling to where you are. So you see, Eric Umofia can happen to any of us. Yeah. And there are so many Eric Umofia out there who think that because they're entrepreneurs, they're capitalists, then they have to hold others
to ransom.
You know, as slaves. Yeah. I have a choice to either buy from you or not buy from you. So if I buy from you and I'm not satisfied, I have a right to tell you that I don't like it this way. Why prosecute me? Why say because I put it on social media?
So I think for me, the whole reaction is irrational. What's his name again? Eric. Because there's nothing chiefly about him. So
I thought, go chief. Right there. Chief bully.
So for me, I'm wondering, what is he hiding? What is the company hiding? Is there something that needs to be investigated? NAFDAC needs to come in and ensure that the product is actually safe for human consumption. Because if there's not something that they're really hiding, this whole thing shouldn't have gone the way it has gone. She just said it's sugary. Fine, you give example. They could even have turned into a PR something.
Absolutely.
Bring her over, cook with it, bring her something.
Ask her which one she uses, compare.
Give her other options. This is the reason why they did this way or whatever. But I think there's just something that it's off in all of that. And what we, like you rightly said, they always prey on people who are powerless for them to be able to, and they drop in names and all of that. And I think the Nigerian authority need to do better, Nigerian police especially.
The IGP.
The Nigerian police needs to understand that their allegiance is to Nigeria and Nigerians and the Constitution, and not to whoever is in government or who is powerful or whatever. They need to start doing their job. Right now, they aren't doing that.
There's something that you said that I picked up, and something that I just said that I picked up. But I've watched the video, and I think I have a better understanding of the whole situation. First, he has his constitutional right to do whatever he wants, right? But like you said, he's overreacting. That is like, there has to be something more, like you said. There has to be something more, because for me, it might not be, oh, maybe there's something wrong with the product. It might be an experience. So Eric, this is for you. Understand this, right? Your biggest market is people like Chioma.
Yeah.
And I understand where you're coming from to a level. I understand that your company has been there for 40 years. I understand that probably more than 2,000 people have jobs in this company, and you don't want them to lose their job, because you also said that in your interview that there are a lot of people that might lose their jobs. I understand that, but I needed to show sympathy. I don't know your story. I don't know your back. I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know why you're triggered the way you're triggered. I don't know that. But I think you should rethink this thing that you're doing and understand that these are your biggest consumers. To Chioma, I also did a little bit of background check on her too. I mean, she's somebody that is, from a poor background, trying to make a living, but also she has a lot of followers actually. And I understand why that would trigger Mr. Eric, because it's like, because I remember there's a story about Davido giving her 5 million one time when she was drinking Gary on one of her Instagram posts, and Davido was like, "Oh, I'm going to support you." So like a while back, and with that she got a lot of followers. So she's a little bit influential in that space.
What my advocacy is about is not about that. And I mentioned that. It is about harassment, bullying, intimidation, arresting this woman twice. Twice for what? Can I just say something that most people don't know, and you seem to have forgotten? The moment you put a product out on the market, that is an invitation to treat. The minute I use my money to buy it, that is a contract.
And I think that everybody is right in reflecting their point of view here. I think we must understand that there are various parts of the story. There is the real fear of the council culture, which exists out there, where people can decide to, for whatever reason, conspire together using the social media as a way to cancel. That exists, and those fears can be channeled, whether they are organized or they are not organized. That exists. But then also there is a place where we also have to recognize that, like Ireti said, the moment you put a product out there, the moment I buy that product, there's a contract, and I can express my view because I bought it with my money, whatever it is, and I can express that opinion. Now the question is, when does that opinion become criminal? That's the issue, and the people who determine that is not Eric. I mean, Eric made a petition, but he doesn't have the power to prosecute.
Arrest anybody.
To arrest and prosecute.
So the police are the ones that went to arrest.
The police made the decision, okay? The judicial decision, the persecutory decision to take him to court. I mean, to take her to court and accuse her of a crime of cyberbullying. It is exactly what you said it is harassment of a public officer, of a private citizen. It is, a denial of our privacy. It is against the Constitution of Nigeria that says that the duty of government is the protection of the Nigerian.
Okay.
I'm not done. So the issue I have here is we have two contending forces within the government, the police and the FCCPC. So the police charges her with a crime. The FCC comes and says, no, it's not a crime. She's a consumer. She has a right to say what she says. Right. And then we have this conflicting position of law, of two agencies coming to say, this is not right. And I think that this is where we need to, when we look at the advocacy, we should look at it from the point of view that we should take on
the people who are executing.
The people
who are executing.
itself who are executing
I agree with
the
you.
crime, because
I agree with you.
it's not Eric. Eric can make a petition for as long as he can. All right, he's a powerful man. Yes, he's rich. He can petition everybody. He can get his friends, whatever. But somebody made the decision, not Eric, to take her to court.
The utterances are not becoming of a CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, the part where you have to say, if you want to leave, I'll help you leave. If you want to die, I'll let you.
I wonder what happens
so
to his staff.
not right
What he
for a
does to
CEO.
Yeah.
I mean,
to make
Okay.
these
a Silicon Valley CEO would act different. This is a
Wonder what his staff are going through under him.
Well, I've said my piece and others have contributed. Aisha is up next and she's talking for my generation. Sorosuke.
A life for a bag of rice. Every day, Nigeria finds a way to break one's spirit with the news that hit at one again and again. Last week, we all heard the news of people who died while trying to get a bag of rice being sold by customs at a reduced cost. One of the victims was said to have left behind a wife and small children who will now have to live the rest of their lives with no biological father. Why do we not value the lives of the underprivileged? Why are things not shared in a dignified and safe manner? We have seen so many times how politicians and other dignitaries debase citizens when sharing things to them. Sights of money being thrown in the air while people scramble for them are commonplace. Or is it the flogging people receive while on queue to receive items or buy them at cheaper rates? There are even reports that people were flogged where they had gone to get the rice sold by customs that ended up taking lives of some. About 2 weeks ago, I was in a position to share money to a large number of people. We had gone to visit a primary healthcare center, and it was decided that a token should be given to people there who looked so tired. There were different suggestions on how best to do it from the people around, and it was done in a dignifying manner that didn't take away the dignity of the people being helped. We shared moments together and laughed over jokes we cracked as the monies were being shared. We were human together, and the process was fast and seamless. Just imagine if customs had counted the number of bags of rice they were going to share on that day and made vouchers for those number of bags, which will then be shared on the day that this sharing was to take place, so the exact number of people matching the number of bags they had. Wouldn't the tragedy be averted? There would have been no need for people with no vouchers to stay on the queue. People could even have rested while they wait with their vouchers for the sharing to start, instead of being on the queue all day and fainting and being trampled upon to death. There are so many ways we can do things better in a safer and dignified manner when we value and humanize our fellow citizens. We must begin to do that. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the measure of not just a society, it's the measure of a person's character. How you treat those, who are not as powerful, who are poorer, who are more needy than you, when you don't behave like the likes of Eric Kumofia, is when you know that you have good character. And that's what we want to know. But I laugh, but I mean, jokes aside, you're totally correct. Mahatma Gandhi was correct. And I don't understand. Here's the thing, a friend of mine said, governments need to keep their hands out of certain things and leave it for private sector to do. Because private sector is more focused on profit and things being done right, rather than governments who just do social.
It's the organizing for me and the flogging as well. I mean, we're talking of human beings.
Yeah.
Why do you need to flog them? You ask them to come, get this. How can you not get people organized in such a way that you do not dehumanize them? These were adults, these were women, the majority of them were women, and you had to resort to flogging. Then again, if government had to come in to do this, what happened to all the NIN and all the streets coding and all of that? Why don't we have a neutral place, some warehouse?
Then it gets moved.
Yes.
But why not customs office? But why not?
There?
No, but why not? If they say all of us here should go into that customs office and manage that thing in that same location, we would manage it better.
In other words, they do not have the competence.
But that's what I was saying.
Do you get it?
Yeah, but that's what I was saying,
Customs then.
Funke, about hand it over to private sector.
Everything can change. Everything you need is here. Instead of looking at me, look at each other. That's where you
Absolutely.
would find me.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the thing. It's like we need to understand, we need to think as a collective.
Yeah.
Right? We need to have
Absolutely.
empathy. And the same thing with the situation with Eric. We need to, I mean, there are laws and there are rules which are literally set by men, but we need to understand that we're human beings first. Human
Yeah.
beings first.
Yeah.
And we need to also think that, like somebody said during the other advocacy, if you are carrying a bag of rice and you see somebody fall, that's a whole life.
I mean,
That's worth more than a bag of rice.
Just
You
like
know,
your own
stumble on
life.
that person, just go and carry 10,000 naira bag of rice. That is beyond, right? I think we live in a society where unless it's close to you, you don't feel it.
right, and I don't mean to get religious, but honestly, my God, my idea of God is in the person, the goodness that I meet in another.
Yeah.
Right? My idea of serving God
Yeah.
is how
How
I
you serve
serve
people.
another.
Absolutely.
And I think if we can just
Absolutely.
get away
Yeah.
from the other God that the esoteric God that we're constantly
Yeah.
looking for, and focus on each other, like that film
Yeah.
said, we might just do better. But Nigeria, go on.
Yinka, just a minute. Let me take 30 seconds of your time.
Okay.
So, and it's that this militarization of our society, years after the military rule, because it's I think part of the vestiges of
course,
the military
of course.
for you to flog.
Yeah.
How do you flog people in a democracy?
Yeah.
It's just not right.
Yeah. Thanks, go on.
Right,
Thank you, Yinka.
It's okay, Funke. So, I mean, I take it from what you said about our concept of God and how we look at it. And I always tell this to my kids. I said that, look, nobody has seen God, all right? A few people said they've died.
You've seen me, though.
Because nobody has seen God, all right? So we all believe we feel Him, we experience Him in what we are, but nobody has seen God. But the closest person to God around you is the next person. All right, the next is the next person, is the next human being. All right, and if you can be good, all right, love the next person to you. It doesn't matter their agenda, it doesn't matter their ethnicity, it doesn't matter their religion, but genuinely love that person. You are loving God.
Absolutely.
And you are serving God.
Yes.
All right, and I tell my kids, I said, look, the best example of what marriage means is not what the Bible says. It's what you see between the way I treat your mother, the way she treats me. That's the best example. I can read scriptures to you, but it means nothing. But if I read the scripture that says, okay, love your wife, and everything, and then I flog her, I beat her, I abuse her, that's the Bible that you will understand. So the next person, people need to understand that the way you treat the human being is the way is a reflection of your own belief system. As it is.
Yes.
A friend of mine some years ago, he was visiting from Canada, and then he was in Lagos. He spent some time with me, and he said, and he described Nigeria's situation very well. He says, what you have is organized chaos. It's chaos.
Of course, organized chaos, yeah.
But it's organized.
Yeah.
And it's because we like that drama, as it is, and how everything is disorderly. Why should we have that situation in the customs office in the first place? It's because somebody wants to be able to show off and say, we're able to do
We're the one
this.
that's doing it.
Why should we have a situation like like the immigration stampede in stadium? It's because somebody wants to be to show off to say, we have this and we have that. If we genuinely love people, and we have that care for humanity, we will not be looking to have, all these photo shoots and everything. We will do things right to respect the dignity of every human being.
We are bold to speak only because we know our voices can be our strongest weapon. At times, we're even speaking to ourselves. Isn't that right, Yinka?
100%, Aisha. 100%. Breaking an addiction requires some frank talk. Stay tuned. A few days ago, I was invited to a Spaces conversation on X, formerly called Twitter. The topic was about curbing Nigeria's insatiable thirst for dollar. For those who do not understand what that means, allow me to break it down. It means two things exactly. Number one, our extreme dependence on imported goods and services, and our desire to pay for foreign goods and services in and out of Nigeria. And then two, the dollarization of the economy, where goods and services are now quoted, invoiced, and paid for in dollars. The question to be asked is, how did we get here? As I tried to explain in the parable of the dollar, we got here after many decades, 40 years to be exact, of lack of investment in critical sectors and infrastructure that would drive the economy, whether in agriculture or even the oil we so much depended on. We got here by not thinking ahead to invest in delivering the electrical power the next generation will need to power us into production. We got here by not building roads and rail that makes it easy for farmers to move goods easily and faster in a cost-efficient way from the farm to the market. We got here by not investing in education, so much so that the desire of the average Nigerian parent is for their children to study abroad. We got here with the lack of investment in healthcare, and our hospitals became death centers and not health centers. The question is, if it took us 40 years to create this insatiable thirst for the dollar, how long would it take us to quench this thirst? Should we push for import substitution, where the products we import are instead produced locally for local production? Or should we push to produce for the purpose of supplying the world so that we can earn more FX from exports to pay for our imports? Or should we just give up? I asked that last question because as of today, over 40% of our population are within the age of 0 to 14. That is over 80 million young consumers that will need mobile phones, computers, cars, wristwatches, smart TV, air conditions, name it, all of which will be imported. As you can see, the prognosis for winning off this addiction is not good. So I ask again, is it time to act or to give up?
Time to act or to give
Right.
up. I mean, there's one part I was going to add. We got here because of greed and lack of patriotism. That's another part we're supposed to add on that line. Also, I feel like if we, as Nigerians, get to a point where we see each other as Nigerians first, it would change a lot of things within our system. Because when you ask the question, why is it that we don't have, these factories? I mean, there are banks owned by Nigerians, right? There are different companies owned by Nigerians. Why is it that when it comes to investing in production, why is it that private sector are not even doing it? Why?
It doesn't pay.
One, it doesn't pay. Two, you still have that, that separation between us where if I do something and the government in power is not from my side, I might just decide to say, I'm not going to give that approval, or I'm not going to support. There's just a lot of things that are affecting people from even going towards this space. Because at the end of the day, one of the biggest contributor to our economy is the private sector. One of the biggest contributors to employment is the private sector. The people that are going to be able to set up this factory is not the government, it's the private sector. But why are we not creating an enabling environment to be able to have these organizations?
Because you have done manufacturing before, so you have real life experience about how this was. Why is it difficult?
Manufacturing in Nigeria, it's not for the faint-hearted. honestly. I'll tell you, Yinka. One, funds are not cheap. You're going to take a loan at 20-something, 30%. That's 30% not that's not cheap at all. Infrastructure is not there. You have to think about, putting all the things in place. Electricity, no constant electricity, insecurity as we have it right now. I remember when I wanted to do, when I was selling tomato paste, at one time we were thinking of, okay, why don't we have an industry here where we could even package it ourselves. The first thing we had to know is that when the machine starts working, it has to run. There's nothing like taking light because everything will shut down. So these are some of the things, problems.
So you had to leave the gen on and not.
Yes, you won't go. So you can't even rely on using electricity. When it goes off, then you go off to the. No, you can't. And so that makes it very expensive. And so what you're finding at the end of the day is that it's cheaper to import. When people bring those things in, they can just sell it at a cheaper rate. We had a soap factory where we're making soap. And I can tell you the pellets for making soap, the cost of bringing the raw material, because we don't even have enough palm oil. In Nigeria
so we import palm oil?
No, we import palm oil into the Nigeria. We import palm oil, we import
the
maize.
tragedy of it, right?
Everything you can take about. From Malaysia, you bring it and they took it from here.
Worry woman, having to eat. I mean, that's the ultimate insult.
Where we are
in
Nigeria. And then you find out that the custom duty on the finished soap was the same as we were bringing in the raw material. Wow. So at the end of the day, it was cheaper. When you import it, it becomes cheaper. So where is the incentive for people to continue to manufacture? So apart from that, also we have the issue of governance. In terms of governance, not cutting the cost of governance, it's also affecting our dollar. We don't look at it. First of all, crude oil. In Nigeria, we sell the crude oil, then we go out to go and buy refined oil. So the dollar it's gone. Government is at fault there. We have issue of lawmakers, executives buying all sorts of exotic foreign vehicles. We're also using those foreigns are out there. We have also things in terms of this entourage. When they pay them, they are, what do they call it?
Ester code.
They're paid in dollars when they travel.
It's paid in dollars. That's my biggest one.
We even have, the one that annoys me the most is the one on religious activities. Government subsidizing religious. I'm a Muslim, and Hajj is one of the pilgrimage of Islam. But it is not compulsory on you until when you can afford it. Even if, as a Muslim, for example, if a Muslim has the money to go, but if he pays, he doesn't have the money for his family to feed when he goes, then it's not compulsory on him. So why is government paying for all of that?
I don't understand.
And then we end up using all of these things. So it's a whole lot of issues we have on ground.
Yeah. For me, you see, this dollar addiction is about the thirst and taste for everything Abroadian by Nigerians. They just don't appreciate that much what is local. They'd rather what comes from abroad. It's like it validates us as a people that you are using something imported. It's like us versus them. It's like my generator is bigger than my Mercedes is bigger than yours. It's a class thing. But then it's morphed into that point where schools are collecting dollars.
Yes.
For children to be in school. House rents are being paid in dollars, and you expect the naira to be strong. How? We need, as a people, to rethink. Imagine we started with man in the mirror. Here we are. We're looking seriously in the mirror today on this show. Why would you prefer to use the dollar? Why would you not buy made in Nigeria?
But I was making notes about one of the when you guys were all talking, and one of the things I wrote there is the three problems that we have, which is the religious politics, tribalist politics, and corruption politics. All of those three things are the one that led us to where we are with the dollar today. So each one of us can change the narrative, and that's what I continue to do. When people say Nigeria should happen to you, no, Nigeria will happen to me because Nigeria has happened to me, but it's always happened to me 90% of the time in a positive way. Yeah. If Nigeria didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be living here. So when we look at the mirror, we need to flip it, but I get what you're saying. It is that thing that you're saying. How did we get here? Because we messed up, or they messed up. Or we both messed up.
All of us messed up.
All of us messed up.
So,
as a collective.
So we all messed up.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves in this situation of the chicken and the egg, which comes first. Whether it is infrastructure, power infrastructure, road infrastructure, or the Nigerian spirit just drives, production up. We never know. So, although we ask the question, we know that giving up is never an option. We are certainly committed to keeping the big conversations going right here on the table, where your seat is reserved for you. So join us next week, same time, News Central. Till then, it's goodbye from all of us.
I'm standing
in the mirror.
Yeah, I want to do.